we've been learning a lot about immigration and push and pull factors that lead people to make the decision to leave their home country. So today we're going to be looking at some images. I would like you to imagine being a person who sets sail on a ship for many, many months, heading to a new land that you've only heard stories about. You haven't been there, you don't know of any of the customs or the traditions, but you're leaving your life behind to make a new life for yourself. What do you think these people are thinking on their way over? How do you think they're feeling on the journey? Today we're going to look at some images to help you develop an understanding of immigration and some of the hardships that immigrants faced as they went on their long journey to America. I'm going to show you some images and then I'm going to give you some information for you to think about as you're viewing the images. Okay. So we're going to look at immigration in pictures, and as you're looking at the images, I would like you to think about what the images tell you about immigration. I'd like you to listen for information. Think about what you already know, and what feelings do you think these immigrants experienced. The first image that you find is an illustration of the Statue of Liberty as it was being built in France. The Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom, of hope for the United States of America. Here you see a group of immigrants arriving after a long journey from Europe across the Atlantic Ocean. They're arriving in New York Harbor, and the first thing they see is the Statue of Liberty. As you can see from the image, many of them are waving their hands in the air in celebration that they have finally arrived after such a dangerous and long trip, and in hopes of a brighter future as they land in America. Here is a picture of Ellis Island. Ellis Island still exists. It just doesn't function as a processing center anymore. A processing center is the place where immigrants first stopped when they arrived in New York City. There, they would have to get an all clear, a thumbs up, to make sure that they were allowed to come into the country. Ellis Island holds records of everyone who arrived into the United States from Europe, and today you can go visit their museum and see how immigrants, the process that immigrants underwent in order to be allowed to stay in the United States. The next image actually shows you a real photograph of immigrants being checked. They're doing a health check, so they're making sure that they're not traveling with any diseases. Being on a ship with so many people packed in allowed for disease to spread. So if someone was sick on the ship, it was easy for other people to get sick because they shared the same space and there wasn't much space on the ship. So this lady is getting a checkup to make sure that it's okay. In this small corner here, this is a picture from Solomon and Anna, one of the books that we will be reading, and it actually shows some of the hardships that the immigrants went through when a family member was sick. They were too sick to stay, and they actually weren't allowed to stay in the United States. They would have to sail back. Imagine what that would be like if you arrived with your family to a country in which you don't speak the language, you're by yourself, there's no one here to receive you, and now you have to separate from your family. This is a picture of the administration building at Angel Island. Angel Island was another processing center, but this one's not located in New York City, where we live. This one is located on the west coast of the United States in California. Immigrants from Asia, so a place like China, this is where they would enter and they would process before being allowed to stay in the United States. So the same health checkup and the same process was followed here at Angel's Island in the same way that it was followed at Ellis Island. Angel Island is also closed. It no longer is a processing center for immigration. These two images show what life was like once immigrants came to America. This is a picture of a tenement housing. So tenements were very close buildings. They tended to be very slim, so very narrow, with maybe 2 apartments on each floor, a lot of staircases, and families lived in large groups together in very, very small spaces. The final image shows you a picture of a map and where many of the immigrants came from. If you notice China, they arrived in California, and from Europe, they arrived in New York City. These are ethnic neighborhoods, so this is where people from the same countries would come together and meet family members that were here or friends, and this made it a lot easier because there were the language, the customs, and the traditions that they shared. They could live here and enjoy those still and have a little piece of home in America. Your job now, after viewing these images, is going to be to think about one new information you learned about immigration. Describe the journey immigrants faced coming to America, and to think about some of the challenges that they faced based on what you saw and heard. You're going to turn and talk to your partner and discuss these